When we started talking about the notion of the war child and the parchments detailing this awful history, or certainly this awful future for the vampires, I was really excited by the notion of actually going there.
As a production, everyone can really get their teeth into it. You know, from a location point of view, it's, you know, we'll find locations that represent the future. From a design point of view, it's incredibly exciting. From a costume point of view, it's really exciting.
Essentially, that we see kind of quite a bleak, kind of barren landscape.
If you imagine in 20 years' time, and you imagine that there's been a huge war, well, it's not like there's, you know, people are going to be going around on hoverboards. If anything, people would have regressed.
Well, do people have jetpacks?
No, mostly everyone's dead.
It's like the vampires have kind of just bled the world dry. We're going to bleach all of the colour out of the future scenes so that it looks kind of anemic almost. Like, as I say, like the vampires have just kind of bled the world of all of its life and vitality and colour. I have to say that our resident genius designer, Andrew Purcell, has excelled himself on this series.
When we started to discuss the future, it was always an exciting prospect. With this, we've got the added dimension of the future being occupied by vampires. Certainly my thought, and I think everyone else's thought, that it would be a low-tech future, seeing as the world was going to be ruled by the old ones, so it would be much more analogue than digital. So they're not going to use modern technology to take over the world, but old-fashioned brute force.
The kind of vibe we pick up in the Resistance hideout, for example, in episode 1, is sort of like a make do and mend kind of attitude.
You know, all their kit is kind of cobbled together out of what they can scrounge and find and what's been left in this sort of post-apocalyptic world.
All the props were stuff that was from today, which we imagine they cobbled together to create their transistor radios.
It's a very lovely thing to get involved with, you know, very atmospheric kind of world to create.
The first location we see in the future is in episode 1, and it's a Resistance hideout.
We used a location in Bristol called the Bristol Caves, which are actually accessed from the street. So we were able to get a continual shot off the street, down a manhole, into a network of caves where the Resistance were hiding.
It's timeless, it's a cave. It's going to be the same in 50 years' time, the same 100 years ago.
Very atmospheric, made absolute sense that that's where they would live underground with access into the streets through the manholes.
The future scene I really like is the reveal of Hal.
And that wanted to be an atmospheric place which was sort of left with the atmosphere of a political rally. If you consider the dilemma that the vampires have in terms of their own propaganda, they can't be photographed. So we adopted a kind of post-revolutionary kind of Russian style to that. We used, so I certainly used Shepard Fairey as an inspiration in terms of all the propaganda.
He gave us these incredible, these beautiful graphic designs for all of their propaganda, like this one here, which I think work absolutely beautifully.
And we used a fantastic location called the Coal Exchange in Cardiff, which is very atmospheric. We just hung these post-revolutionary banners and an image of Hal.
And I think that's my kind of favourite future scene, because it's such a kind of, rather than some kind of bleak, derelict, abandoned wasteland, you've got a very kind of bold, strong image of something very kind of potent in that image of Hal.
One of their most ruthless commanders. Those camps I showed you, they were his idea. He's violent, sadistic, and, well, quite literally their poster boy.
Being able to kind of create that world was really exciting.
I think it's been a big success, but that's for you to decide.